Okay, so what we're going to do now is have a go at creating a random password generator based on user input using some of the things we've already looked at. So the first thing I'm going to need here is import random because that's going to help generate the random characters that I'm going to need to use later on. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is define what the characters are. So I just need a string basically of random characters. Now, I'm just going to choose initially just the numbers off the keyboard. Okay, so just to see how this works, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a for loop. So we've done this before. So for I in the string, we want to print I. Okay, so just to make sure this is working like it's supposed to, we run this. Okay, we're getting 1 all the way up to 0. Okay, now it's a string, they're not numbers. They are numbers that are stored as a string. So they're actually characters. So we won't be able to do any calculations on these because they're text. But that's fine because that's all we want to do is just generate a text-based password. Okay, so what do we need to think about next? Well, all of our characters are currently printed underneath each other in the console. I don't really need that for a password. I want them next to each other. So what we can do is we can use a bit of string formatting. So let's redefine I. Okay, so we want I to equal just a random blank character, but then we want to join all those characters together so that they're on the same line. Okay, so all we're basically telling it to do here is create a holding space and then join all those characters together so they're on the same line. Right, so the next thing I want to do then is have it give me a random sample from those characters rather than all of them. So if I do what we did before and choose random dot sample, I can get it to give me just 8 of those characters. Okay, so let's try that. Okay, so as we can see now, it's printing all of the characters, but it's giving me them now in random order, which is great. And it's only giving me 8. So you can see here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So far, so good. Right, what I want to do now is maybe extend those characters. So I want probably for a password more than just a set of numbers because that's, well, it's not great, is it? So let's add in the alphabet. Okay, so capital letters. So just hold down the shift key, A, B, C, G, H, I, J, K, L, O, S, T. Okay, now I have some letters and some numbers, which will probably give us a slightly stronger password. Run this again. Okay, now I've got some numbers and letters kind of combined together, which is a little bit better than what I had before. Right, let's add in some special characters because we would like the password to be a little bit stronger. It's a bit too easy to guess at the moment. All right, so let's go back to the end and add in all of the special characters from the number keys. So number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. So that gives me a few extra characters on the top of there, which I've just literally pressed Shift and typed the number keys from the top line on the keyboard. So that's a little bit better. This time if we run it, okay, I can see now I've still got 8 characters, but now it's a little bit stronger because I've got some uppercase alphabet characters, some numbers, and also some special characters. Okay, so far so good. Maybe we want to extend this a little bit further, but we'll think about that maybe a little bit later. So what if we want more than 8 characters? Well, we can just change this number. If I want my password to be 10 characters, just change that number to 10. Now I've got 10. Okay, so that's pretty much fairly straightforward. Now, what we want to do later on is maybe give the user the option to choose how many characters they would like. Now, how do I know how many characters is in this long string up here at the top? Well, I can manually count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 plus 26 letters. But you know, there's a quicker way of doing that. And we'll have a look at how that works in a little while. So what we want to do, first of all, is create a new variable for the length of the password, and we're going to make that 8 characters long. Okay. So this time, instead of saying random sample of characters is 8, we can define that by using the variable length instead. So we get the same result. Okay. If I change length back to 10 and run it, I get 10 characters. So instead of changing it here now, I've just stored it in a variable. So we can use length as an alternative. Makes the code a little bit easier to read and a little bit easier to understand. But we can go maybe beyond that. So why don't we ask instead the user to tell us how many characters we want them to have us generate the password for. So I want to do input, and then I want to ask them, what size password do you want? Or how many characters do you want? Or how long do you want your password? Okay. Do you want your password in numbers? Or something like that, okay? Or what length do you want your password? Or something that's obvious that we're asking them to tell us, you know, do you want it 12 characters long, 15 characters long, something like that. Now, at the moment, this is probably going to throw a bit of an error. And the reason it's probably going to throw a bit of an error is because if we type something in here, well, it's just a string. So what the user types in on here isn't a number, it's a letter. It's a bit of text. So it might look like a number, but it isn't. So what we have to do here, as we did before when we thought about, you know, the different types of things we can have, we have to now convert that to an integer. Now, we could do that here, or we could do that here. It doesn't really matter as long as somewhere along the line the character that it generates here or the character that it's input here is an integer, then we can basically understand what that is and we can do the calculation on that number. Okay, so what we've got so far then is give us some characters in a variable, define another variable that we've called length, which is a whole number of whatever the person types when we prompt them. Here I am going to just do a /n at the end, purely so that it moves this down here so it's not at the end of this line here. It just tidies it up just a little bit. So now it's going to look through this for loop, through this bunch of characters here, and it's then going to join them all together using a random sample of those characters based on whatever the input that gets stored by the user in the length variable just here. So I press enter and it generates me some passwords that are 8 characters long from a random selection of these characters over here. Now, one of the issues we will have is we know how many characters are in here. Python knows how many characters are in here. If we type in a number that is bigger than the number of characters we've got, it'll throw an error. Okay, because there aren't 78 characters in that string. But there are ways around that, and we will fix that in a short while.